Hi everyone, today we'll be starting our reading at chapter 13, so please check that you're on page 114 and you see chapter 13 here. Pay close attention to the reading today because there's going to be a Look It challenge at the end of class where 3 lucky winners will have a chance to get a prize, including a handful of prizes. However, all of the questions on that Look It are going to come from Ask Me No questions and what you read and do in today's Nearpod. So pay attention, follow along, and pay close attention to the questions I ask you because those same ones will be in the Look It. Here we go. Follow along starting on page 114. I keep thinking about Abba and swimming. Back in Bangladesh, Abba was a great swimmer. When he went to visit his old village, he and the other boys would walk along the banks of the river until they got to the highest point. Abba would clamber up the wide trunk of the banyan tree, swinging himself high into its gnarly branches, and drop right down into the deepest spot in the water. Everyone would watch him as he stayed below, streaking through the water like a fish. They would count, and still Abba swam. Sometimes he disappeared from view, and they'd watch the ripples on the surface, wondering how long he could possibly stay down. Finally, he'd burst up, a great grin on his face and a squirming crab grasped in his hands. "Strong lungs," they would say of Abba. "Strong lungs give him staying power. He's the one who always lasts." Years later, when we moved to Queens, Abba took me to the city pool in Flushing Meadow Park. So this is in New York City. Queens is a neighborhood in New York. All his friends gave him a hard time, saying it was shameless what people wore there. I hated that pool. It sits in an old amphitheater, and it's always crowded with kids jumping in from the sides, parents screaming, lifeguards blowing their tinny whistles. While Abba watched, I flapped my arms. I kicked. No matter what I did, I always felt slow and fat and helpless in the water. On one of his days off, Abba took me to the middle of the pool and said it was time I had a proper lesson. He grasped me by the waist and said sternly, "Take a deep breath. Hold it at the back of your throat, like a little soft sack. Then let it out, slowly, slowly." He placed his palm at the back of my neck and pushed my face down into the bright blue wavelets. Water shot down my throat in a burning spike. I began to sputter and gasp, thrashing my arms at him. Gently, Abba lifted my head up, wiped the salty tears and chlorinated water from my cheeks, then prodded me down again. I squirmed, I cried, but Abba stayed good-humored, his hand firm on my neck. Down into the water, again and again, until I learned how to hold my breath at the back of my throat. Luis, you can go to flow fluency if you're done. How to be slow and patient, let the air out bit by bit in a chain of bubbles. I began to stay down longer, kicking past the tangle of legs and droopy suits. I swam right past them, feeling the steady push of my father's hand on my head. By the end of the summer, I could swim the whole length of the pool underwater. When the pool closed in September, Abba cupped his hands around my shoulder and said, "If you know how to breathe, you can get through anything." That's what I think of now as I get off the bus and walk by the store where Ali Uncle works. Breathe, get through this, find your way to the other side. No one's home in the apartment. The machine in the kitchen is blinking with a message from Ma. I call her, and her voice sounds funny, both fearful and giddy at once. "The hearing," she explains. "It's going to happen." What will they do? They call it preliminary, to explain the reasons why they're holding your father in there. "Are you okay?" I ask. "Yes, Nadira." She doesn't sound okay, though. Her voice now sounds broken up, like a piece of chalk that's starting to crumble. "Ma," I say, "tell me. If the hearing goes well, the lawyer says, then maybe your father will be let out. But if it doesn't..." At this, she halts. I can hear her breathing on the other end. "If it doesn't, this may also be the beginning of the end. They may deport him right away." I press my fingers to my temples. I think of Abba in his cell, the soft mound of his stomach rippling, pulling in air, letting it out bit by bit. What is the right thing to do? You can't go to the hearing all by yourself, Ma. Who will translate? Don't worry. They say they have translators here. After we hang up, I pace the apartment, nerves thrumming. Finally, I go into the closet and pull out the folder that has copies of all our hard work. The letters that Aisha and I wrote, the one from Abba's boss and Ali, uncle, the fax Ma sent to us, another one she sent a few days ago. Then, my eyes light upon Abba's name at the top of Ma's fax. I read it again. A cold sensation tingles through my body to the tips of my fingers. It's like a map that suddenly becomes clear. Lines start feeding into each other, connecting the parts. I pull out the new fax, look again. I've got it, I think. I've got a way to get Abba out. My thoughts are speeding faster, and now one fear trips into another. What if it doesn't work? What if they don't care about my great big discovery? Maybe I have to do something else, something bigger, guaranteed to save Abba. Quickly, I dig in my pocket, find the scrap of paper and dial. The phone picks up after 2 rings. Yo, it's me, Nadira. Hey, Tarek sounds genuinely surprised. Listen, I was wondering, you know what you said the other day about helping us out? He laughs. Yeah, though I have to tell you, it's not cheap. I have it. I have money. There's a pause. How much? I picture Ali Uncle's slender fingers grazing the pages of the ledger. Those tiny inked figures stacked one after another. 3,000, I tell him. Not bad. He tells me to get the money in cash and meet him in Dunkin' Donuts in 2 hours, and he'll take me where we need to go. I burrow in the closet again. Tucked under an extra pair of jeans, I find the money that Ma had given us. There's $100 left. Auntie wouldn't take much money from us, not even for our food. I peel off most of the bills, pull out a pad of paper, and leave a note. Don't worry about me, I scribble. Everything's going to be all right. All right, so Nadira's leaving a note, sort of dramatic, right? Saying that she's going to go take care of things, as it were. This is where I'm going to pause for a second so that you can answer questions on your own. You're going to continue reading from page 118, You're going to continue reading from page 118 right where I stopped. But first, answer the questions that have to do with this. Make sure, though, 118, where it says, at the mosque, that's the church where Ali Uncle usually is, that's where you're going to be starting in just a minute. Thank you guys for paying close attention. Do your best on the questions since they are going to be definitely on Book It. Good luck. Thanks, everyone.